question. So based on my personal perspective, what I've learned in the military is, two traits that and characteristics that I like the most in leaders. Is the first one is empathy. Over time, I've learned that the ability to put yourself in the shoes of the people that you're leading, members of your team, allow you to connect with them and communicate with them pretty effectively. And it goes a long way to your effectiveness as a leader. The second trait is integrity. Integrity is huge. Leaders that are forthright and honest with their subordinates and with those that are around them tend to be very, very successful. It also fosters a climate of leaders and subordinates being honest and forthright with each other, and it builds that trust amongst the team, which is important. And both of these traits and characteristics I've learned over time go a long way to getting the commitment of those in the organization. I think one of the biggest things to avoid is micromanagement. Micromanagement is not a very effective way to lead. I've found that your subordinates, you train them, you empower them, then you trust them, and you also underwrite their mistakes, because it's very, very difficult to develop as a leader. You're going to make some mistakes. And I think when leaders underwrite the mistakes of their subordinates, they create that space for them to learn and grow as leaders. Some of the biggest challenges that I've faced as a leader is, those events that happen that weren't planned for, that you're not trained to handle, whether it's a natural disaster or some tragic accident, and you're responding to that. And what I learned from that is the first thing you do is don't panic. If you panic, everyone else will panic. And it's very, very hard to respond effectively to a crisis. The other thing is to be patient. Be patient and be optimistic. It can be done. You can get through this. And just my experience as a leader, I've learned that. But also I've learned a lot from watching other leaders that in organizations that I've been in, brigade commanders, battalion commanders, responding to crisis situations in a way that was very, very calm, and also noticed the impact that had on everyone else on the team. Everyone else on the team was calm too. And you have to be optimistic. You also have to be patient in those situations. One of the things that I did was, and this was by happenstance, I happened to be listening to Colin Powell's book, General Colin Powell's book, My American Journey, on audio in someone else's car. And it was him, of course, reading his book. And I was impressed. And I went out and bought the book and I read it. And this is when I was in ROTC, I was a cadet, I had not entered the active duty yet. And it really started me off. Those 13 rules that he has started me off on the right foot. And it really helped my early development as a leader. And then after 10 years in the Army, after my first 10 years in the Army, I read it again. And I learned more lessons. And now I have 21 years. I think it's time to read it again. At every stage in my career, it really provided practical, helpful, inspiring guidance to me as a leader. The other book that I read right when I came on active duty was a book about Vince Lombardi called When Pride Still Matters. When Pride Still Mattered. And that book was very helpful to me in looking at building a team and the importance of teamwork and the importance of leading and the importance of being successful. So in my office, I have a picture of Colin Powell, and also I have a picture of Vince Lombardi there, to just kind of reminders on a daily basis of those early leadership lessons, those influences on my leadership philosophy, and it's been very, very helpful. Future leaders are going to be faced with some difficult tasks. It seems to me like the problems and the challenges that we face today require innovation, creativity, but I still think it requires a little bit of patience and also perspective. Because we're going to face, some things will be complex, some things will be novel, but then we also have to understand history. And we have to look back in our history as a nation when we faced changes in the way society is, changes in technology, and learn those lessons. You know, some of those same lessons can be learned as we face new technologies across society. And really, I think we have to also hold on to those core values. What do we value? You know, and definitely stick to the values of the organization. But I think leaders in the future are going to have to be innovative, going to have to be creative, but are going to have to be patient and kind of have that perspective on the challenges that we face. So that's a great question. I think on a daily basis, so I continue to read. Right now, I'm reading Grant's memoirs, and it's a long read, but when you read someone like General Grant, President Grant, uh, you know, his path, you know, his journey to where he got to in his life, it's enlightening. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. So I'm getting through that now. So I continue to read. I try to read a lot of different diverse books to kind of give me a broader picture. The other thing that I've done over time is I've developed professional relationships with people. Some people think like I do and some people don't think like I do. And I really enjoy the perspectives of people that see situations differently than I do. And when I'm faced with some type of questions, some issue, I do rely on people that would definitely not see it the way that I do, so that I can kind of cover my blind spots. You know, the longer you lead, sometimes you develop blind spots, you develop biases, and professional relationships with people that have diverse perspectives from you, or building a team that is diverse, will help you continue to be successful, you know, going forward. So I try to, of course, I try to read, but I also foster those relationships with people that definitely have different perspectives, so that I can see all sides of any issue, any question, any challenge.